Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. In our 25th year, we've got a great show for you this morning. I'm Harvey Freed. To the left of me today, Harry Glantz.
You believe it? I switched it up, Harv, today. I just felt like, taking a different way to the station. Coming in, I'm sitting to your left for the first time in 25 years. I'm to the left of you,
My
buddy.
neck pain will go away, Harry,
There
from
you go.
always
I
going to the
appreciate
right
that.
here. We bring in Brock House. Brock, I love your name. You're a great real estate agent. Have a pleasure speaking with you. Welcome to our show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Brock House from Berkeley, baby. The Berkeley Bears represent. We got 2 out of 3 Berkeley Bears in the studio, Harvey.
Oh, my high school wasn't too far.
Chargers.
Lathrop wasn't
There we
too
go.
far. Keller
Good for
Williams
you.
Metro office in Royal Oak. Again, you worked the whole Tri-County area, Brock. Everything you said to me during the week, and again, just meeting new people. We bring some newer people on the show and try to find a different perspective of where you're coming from. And of course, you're about, 32, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a lot of young buyers and first-time home buyers you're working with. Tell me, since you've been in the real estate, how do you feel the buyer's market is right now, just sort of headed into the spring? It just entered the spring of 2025.
Well, yeah, I think the market is starting to, the prices are finally coming down a little bit, and things are moving fast. There's a lot of competition all of a sudden.
Okay.
Yeah. The sunshine came out and the market just lit up.
Always happens that way, doesn't it, Harv? The sun comes out, everybody comes out. They don't realize that the best time to go out with less competition is when the weather's cold, but nobody likes cold weather. I mean, some people do, but not to show their house. But talking about things coming down, how about this week, the last couple of weeks the stock market's been having?
Oh, boy.
All right, it's been gone down about 4,000 points in the last 2 weeks. And you can look at it 2 ways. There's a lot of buying opportunities if you're in the stock market. Take a look at it. If you like the stock, let's say you liked NVIDIA at 140, would you like it at 95? I mean, it's just a different philosophy. So in the housing and real estate market, Brock says, housing prices are coming down a little bit. I think it's an individual thing. We talked about it on the break before the show. There are some opportunities out there, and that's what we're always looking for. We're looking for opportunities. And when you talk to your clients, and I know you have a handful of buyers that are looking for places, you just can't find them, but you're out there scouring properties, and it's always better to take a look at a property that needs a little bit more work than one's in moving condition, because you might be able to get a break on that, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Whenever we walk through a property, if we just need light cosmetic work, I'm always very vocal with my buyers about that. Hey, this is going to be kind of some easy equity building for you. We're going to get in easily. Everyone else is kind of deterred because of the condition of the property, even though it's just, light cosmetic. So it allows us to get in, and we don't necessarily have to spend that top dollar. Usually it's a good way to bargain for concessions, maybe even get the price down a little bit. But yeah, a lot of people, they always ask me, Brock, how's the market? Here's the thing. Nice houses sell, and they sell fast. And that's when you really get the big competition, when you get a nice home.
Yeah, I knew actually one last week here. I had a couple of people that called me up, and sure enough, it was about a $795 price range. It went for $890, and that's a huge difference when you're listing a house and you're seeing an increase of $25 to $85 or even $100,000.
Yeah, in this market, Brock, people better have their act together because it is a fast-moving market. You can't just be sticking your toe in the water. You got to be ready to buy, put in that offer. Of course, listen, we always say this, and this is one of the rules that we have, is that you never waive an inspection. You never do. You never waive a house inspection.
100%.
And you don't want that to come back on you either, right? So you always tell people, listen, let's put the offer in, let's go, let's make it contingent on certain things. And one of it is an inspection. So you want to have that house inspected, but you have to be ready. You have to have a pre-approval in your hand. You're not showing people houses, especially in a fast-moving market, without a pre-approval, right?
Yeah, it's very important to have that pre-approval, and it's very important for your buyers to understand the market, And I'm not too pushy per se when it comes to that. Sometimes, okay, if it's our first offer, we'll go in a little bit below asking price. And then if it's something they really want, I'll tell them exactly how to get it. But it's also about making sure that they're comfortable as well and allowing them to observe the market and what's going on. So, if we get that first offer in and, we miss out by a few $1,000s, well, now the buyer knows that, and now they're way more motivated for that next offer.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Everybody thinks that they're going to go in. It used to be back in the day, and we can always say that, back in the day, you would go in and you'd make an offer. If a house was listed at $200,000, you'd go in at $180.
You're kicking tires.
Okay, you just want to see something going on. Well, by the time that you're never going to get that in today's market, all right? But again, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's an individual situation, and you know your client better than anybody, and you've got to go ahead and you've got to go through those steps with them.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean it's a huge learning process. If someone's been through it before, they kind of know the game, and we can have a little bit more of an advanced conversation right out of the gate. But yeah, it's really about making sure that they're comfortable, they're getting what they want, they're getting into a home where they're able to, really get in there and everything is good. We don't want the monthly payment to be too high. In the inspection, to your point, whenever we go look at homes, I'm always pushing my buyers. We got to make sure there's a good roof, good windows, good mechanicals. The foundation is good. You don't want to get somebody into a home and then 2-3 years later they got to put a new roof on it, and they don't even know they didn't even know that they had to put a roof on it. You know, so I mean, it's very important that we make sure they're set up for success. And I even tell them too. I said, hey, listen, you hold on to this house for 7 years. If all your stuff's brand new, we can go ahead and help you get out of it before this stuff goes bad.
Brock, any house needs repairs. I mean, any house is going to need updating or something.
No such thing as a perfect home.
Right. But you're really educating, the buyers can walk in there and then they could sort of, I like what you said, because roofs and windows, those two things can really be expensive. I mean, a roof may be not as expensive as the windows, but window packages are crazy. You hear of like just regular houses, 25 to 50,000 and upwards. So yeah, when you get a young family in there, they finally get the house. They might have had to pay a little bit more. And like you said, right now there might still be some opportunities. Harry, I'm combining all the things we've already talked about this morning, taking a different way to work, because I keep going the same way to the gym, and I see the same three houses listed.
You got to have a different perspective. You got to drive neighborhoods. And one of your favorite topics came up the other day with a client of mine specifically, the sewer line inspection.
They keep coming up.
Everybody out there, you have to understand something. You've got to get that camera down the sewer line when you're doing the inspection. And there was a root growing in the sewer line. And as Brock points out, you came back with the inspection and the seller gave a concession on to fix the sewer line. So you can't waive an inspection. You got to know what's going on. The houses around here, they're not getting any younger. They're getting older every day, and things pop up. You got to stick that camera and scope the sewer line when you do that home inspection.
Well, if I could chime in, listen. So to your point with the sewer line, whenever we do a home inspection, I got a guy that I use down here, and we always recommend that you have insurance, because even if it backs up once per year, like now if roots growing in these sewer line systems, a very, very common thing, right? You're probably going to have to get somebody out there to snake it. They got to get a cutter on the snake, and they got to go out there once a year, and it's usually right around now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot more affordable than having to cut up the road and, spend double digits, $8,000 to $12,000 on mostly sewer line repairs. So even most recently on a purchase that I'm working on, sure enough, an older house in the city, once they did the sewer line, they saw it was all jammed up. They were able to go back in and renegotiate. And now it's a few more dollars in my buyer's pocket, so they can do that repair down the road or determine when they're going to do it. Like you said, sometimes you just have to do the maintenance on it because families are living there. They don't know.
Well, and you better check some basements out, because what happened Thursday night with the storms and the rain and everything going on, I'm telling you, there's water, there's moisture in your basement right now. It happens in Michigan. This is what we do. That's not a reason, okay, everybody, not to buy a house. But you got to check it out. Anybody says they haven't had any moisture in their basement, I don't know. I put that at a 99 to 1. Okay, the odds on that not happening here in Michigan, especially in the last 10 years.
We'll buy a house up on the hill, right?
Yeah, well, of course, if you're sitting all the way up there, right? But you go down there, and it's going to be a little bit of dampness in there.
Yeah, one of the big things we deal with is placement of gutters, believe it or not. If those gutters aren't getting that water away from the home, here's the thing. Even if you have a sump pump or a waterproof basement, XYZ, you want to get that water as far away from your home as humanly possible. And I mean, that's just the name of the game. And then all of a sudden, almost all your problems go away. You could have a leaky basement, and if you get all that water away from the basement, you're not really seeing leaks.
Downspout extensions are good. Like you said, fixing the grading around a property. And when you go look at a house, you can really determine that. You might walk around a house with a first-time home buyer, and there's puddling of water. I mean, it's a scary thing for families. And again, like you said, smarter people can look at it and say, there's a quick remedy that doesn't cost a whole lot of money. And sometimes the sellers just don't know. Maybe they've already moved out. I mentioned to you earlier that there's a company out there, they'll list your house. They don't even go to it. So you got to have these more professionals in your life.
So Harvey, people right now are driving around metropolitan Detroit saying, what do downspouts and gutters and moisture have to do with mortgages and real estate?
It has to do with money.
Well, let me tell you what it has to do with it. It has to do with it when the fact that when we send an appraiser out to the house and the appraiser goes down the basement and sees a puddle in there, they're going to take a picture of it, snap it, put it on the appraisal and send it to us. And then we're going to say, why didn't the seller go ahead and take a look in the basement before the appraiser came over? And then what's going to do, it's going to cause some questions that have to be asked. All right, foundation questions. How long's the moisture been? Did they check moisture on the seller's concession or on the seller's disclosure when they entered into the agreement? You love that when that happens, don't you, Harv?
Well, more importantly, I'd like to see that the clients get these inspections done. Again, we always shine light on the most important facet of the transaction and whether or not you even are they're going to allow you to negotiate. Maybe they took you highest and best and you put on there that I'm going to do an inspection, but it's just for my own purposes. And we say for pass, fail inspection. So you do see a lot of those now. And a family can get a professional opinion just because there's evidence of water in the basement. As you mentioned, Brock, ways to divert that away is really the key nowadays and finding out how much money is it going to take to remedy this problem so it doesn't become even a more expensive problem down the road.
Yeah, you really want to stay ahead of it. It could get in your pocket pretty quick, you know, and especially if you're trying to have a transaction, maybe have an FHA loan where they're a little harder on the appraisal. Mm-hmm. That's something that could burn down a deal and fast.
All right, 248-539-9797. We're just getting started here on the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Brock House joins us from Keller Williams Metro. We'll take all your calls, 248-539-9797. Keep it here. That's right. Wake Up Detroit, 814. It's a Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We keep your money in your pocket. If you're buying or selling a house, it's be a good place to call, 248-539-9797. We are brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Of course, you can reach us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker empowered by CMG Home Loans and MLS 1820 Equal Housing Lender. Brock House from Keller Williams joins us this morning. And, of course, to my left today, Harry Glanz, and I'm Harvey Freed.
Switching it up, buddy.
Doing this stuff. Little drizzle out there. Rain's supposed to stop at 9 o'clock, so get those Little League, get those high school games in, and have some fun out there. Tigers got a game at 1 o'clock, too.
How about those Tigers opening day? Always a holiday in the city of Detroit. It was phenomenal.
Boy, does Kerry Carpenter
win.
swing a big bat, doesn't he?
2 home runs in the game. It was good.
And Riley, if you're listening, we appreciate you, brother.
It was good. Good pitching out, pitching by Flaherty was great. How about this? Pistons won. Red Wings won. We're all good.
Some guy tied Wayne Gretzky last night.
Well,
so a lot of
Ovechkin tied Gretzky in
right.
goals, and I think it was 855 games. I don't know. But take a look at Gretzky's assists.
He's got a lot more.
A lot more. He's like killing it. But
right.
But the bottom line is, we talked about this and with Brock here and everything. What is going on with the housing market, the real estate market in metropolitan Detroit, and the interest rates? So, a little tough news in the market when I say the stock market this week. But there was some good news. There was a silver lining with mortgage interest rates. Now, what happens out there, people? Everybody thinks, they took a look at the stock market, what's going to happen to rates. Volatility, generally for mortgage interest rates, it usually goes the opposite way. When there's volatility, rates start to come down a little bit. Well, guess what happened last week? They did come down a little bit, about 20 basis points. We're at about 6.80, 6.8 last week. We're about 6.6, 6.65 this week. I'm not going to hit the button where I'm going to say interest rates are going to go down dramatically, but there might be some opportunities, Harvey, for people to refinance. And we've seen refinance applications pick up. They picked up for 2 reasons. Number one reason, people are tired of paying 20, 22, 24% on their credit cards. And they realize right now that 6.7-ish, 6.8-ish is better than 20%. So they're consolidating that toxic debt. And number 2 is that if you're going to be in the house for a long period of time and you bought that house a year ago, 2 years ago, and you got the 7.25%, 7.5% interest rate, you might as well take advantage of it right now. Because what are you waiting for? People say, well, I think they're going to go down to 5. No, first of all, they're not. Second of all, every month you make that monthly payment, you're paying more than you should if you're going to stay in that house for a long time. We'll sit down. We'll do the math for you. We'll ask you those questions. How long? Then we'll do the division. We'll figure it out. And if you save money, it's worth it. Don't wait.
We do the math for sure here. And one of the things, too, what I love about this little break in interest rates, again, as the stock market gets hammered, more money moves into the bond market. And the bond market seems to really affect the mortgage interest rates just a little bit more. But you can definitely save money by not only dropping that interest rate, but the most important thing you can do for yourself is moving the money to principal and interest. In other words, moving it away from the interest, drop to a 20-year fix. So we've been able to consolidate a lot of families. We show them the 20-year fix number. I really like that. If you've been in the house for the last 2 years where the rates were a little bit higher, maybe in the mid 7s or low 7s, that opportunity to get into the low 6s on a 20-year, your payment stays relatively the same. And it's a great opportunity. Now you're consolidating debt. Now you're dropping years off your mortgage. I love that play.
Yeah, before we throw it back to Brock, and he'll agree with this, it only makes sense if you sit down and you do the math with people, whether you're working on a budget for a home, if you're working on a budget if they have to buy a new car, if you're working on a budget for them saving money. Harvey, you hit the nail on the head. The reason why you should go to a 20-year is that if you could keep it, it only makes sense, everybody, if you could keep your payment relatively the same, even if it's $50, maybe $100 higher, and you could shave 6-7 years off the life of that loan with a relatively the same mortgage payment, the question is, why wouldn't you do it? Okay, not why would you do it. The reason why you would do it because you'd save money in the long run. Why wouldn't you do it? Well, you got to do it, and you can't wait.
All right, there might be a couple of those federal interest rate cuts this year, which might lean over to the mortgage side of things. But people have already settled in, Brock. And, of course, when you're showing homes at this point, the clients are now really not only pre-approved, but they're starting to get that education base. And I think that is always, the knowledge gives you the confidence. It's one of the two words I've been using for a long year. More and more families are talking about this confidence. Confidence is when you're signing your name on $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, and it's you and your young family. You got to have some additional confidence that you're doing the right thing.
Oh, big time. Yeah. I'm a huge advocate for dating the rate, so to speak. Everyone's always, oh, well, the interest rates are high, I'm going to wait for them to come down. Well, here's the deal. You get into the home, and if those interest rates drop within the next 6 months, you can refi. It's a no risk situation realistically.
There's no prepayment penalty on any of the mortgages really out there now in Michigan. We don't have a prepayment penalty state at all, so you can always change that up.
Yeah, a lot of my buyers, I think the biggest thing that they're lacking initially, and that's when we get into the buyer consult. I'd say half my buyer's consult is just going over how to get into a mortgage, what to expect, different things that you can do. I had a young man get into a home, a very specific loan. I think it was like $305,000, something like that, FHA deal. Well, we came to find out that if he made one extra payment per year, I think it knocked him down somewhere in like the high teens. So the mortgage would have been paid off. He would have basically had over 100 payments that he wouldn't have had to make. It knocked almost 10 years off his loan.
Yeah.
And if he made 3 extra, I had a different scenario. We ran the amortization chart. It was a 30-year loan. If they made 3 extra payments per year, I think it put them at like 9 years, and the mortgage would have been paid off.
It might be a little bit less, but yeah, there's no doubt. You run that amortization chart is key, and if you do apply, you can always do those. Give us a call if you want to see what something like looks like, and that's really specific. You have some extra money each month, and you want to pay additional money towards your principal. That can knock off years of your mortgage. Lots of different ways to save money on a mortgage.
Yeah, it used to be that way. I would tell you that we would tell people, if you want to go ahead and take a 30-year fixed out, but if you want to prepay it, go ahead and prepay it. There's no prepayment penalty. But it allows you the flexibility of making that payment, and if you do want to pay it off early, go ahead and make the extra payment. But things come up in life, Harvey.
Yeah, they do.
Things come up. A furnace might blow out, right? You might need a new dishwasher, right? We talked about earlier, the basement might flood. You might need to replace some things. So you really should have that backup plan. And if you can make the extra payment, make the extra payment. If you can't, well then, life hits you in the face sometimes, and there's other payments you're going to have to make. Your kids need clothes. There's certain things you have to have. And, you just don't want to get roped into that higher payment.
Fix my train of thought here, but I'd like to mention FHA. FHA loans, of course, when you initially get into them, you're paying a monthly MIP, mortgage insurance premium, or it could be a conventional loan, PMI. So a lot of times by paying down that principal, when that refinance comes up, yes, you do have a little bit more equity position. But we are telling our families, like Harry said, sort of sock that extra money away. We're hoping that your home continues to appreciate across the United States, more specifically here in Southeast Michigan. So there's going to be opportunities to refinance. One of the things I realize as I've gotten older is the generation now needs to really get that under their, in their pocketbook where, look, don't sweat it out. You said you're dating the rate, but more importantly, you can change that. So put the money away for a rainy day. You never know what'll happen. By the way, here you mentioned flooding going on. Yeah. I finished my walkout basement years ago, and I called the plumber up and I said, "Hey, I need one of those backup sub pump things." And he said, "No problem, Harvey." And this was years ago, and now he said it was like $800. I go, $800? I thought it was $350. He goes, "The one I'm going to give you for $800, it will work in a nuclear war." So it's based on gravity, and it'll work no matter what if the power goes out. Now, those do cost more money, but you can save money by putting in the right equipment. Harry, one of the things is families can reach out to their insurance agents and have them notified that you have that backup in. Your insurance agent will be very happy.
Well, you never really want to chintz on that kind of insurance because it will end up costing you more in the long run if you don't take care of that in the short term. Okay. And Brock, one of the things, and you're a young guy, it's tough to budget. It's tough to budget money, right? It's tough. When you sit down, it's very difficult to be disciplined. And that's one of the hardest things that young people, in fact, anybody has to do is really put a budget together for all of their expenses. And what we're seeing is that, I thought it would end with the baby boomer generation. I'm a boomer, but, they call me a boomer. Hey, boomer.
You are a boomer.
Yeah, I know, I'm a boomer. So it's we spent a lot of money on credit cards, and we just ran things up. It was fun. It was great. We had to have everything, and boom, there goes our credit card balances, and we ended up paying a lot of people's credit card balances off throughout the years. Well, you guys, I hate to tell you, you guys are running up your cards too, and we're seeing it, and hey, we want to pay them off, but you got to try and get into good habits early. If you're throwing everything on a credit card and you're making the minimum monthly payment on it and you're just paying the interest, you're never going to get out of that vicious cycle. And it's a tough one to get out. I know it's hard to save money, okay? but you got to try to live within your means.
Well, you know, there's a lot to learn in this industry, and typically through explaining the loan process, we actually do deep delve into proper credit techniques to try to get that credit up. And it's almost as simple as you just pay your credit card off at the end of every month. That gets you pretty far. But there have definitely been plenty of people that I've helped get into homes where they have this debt kind of lingering, stuff in collections, these different things. And by the time through the process of getting them into the home, we've had to pay all that stuff off, whether it's rolled into the loan somehow or coming out of closing cost or, you know, and by the time they're into the home, they're, you know, they only have all their only debt is the house, maybe a car payment.
That's what you
know,
want.
And everything's easy peasy, you know, and then all of a sudden life is really good because they have a stable living situation. They don't have any of that lingering debt, you know. I mean, it's just it's a happier life.
Yeah, we talk about that. We talk about credit scores a lot. You know, Becky Alley, Lisa Lawson in our office, John Kolb. We're on here every week trying to bump people's credit scores up. We offer that service for free. No obligation. We will do it. We will check it out. If you don't think that you can qualify for a mortgage, we'll go ahead. We'll run the credit, whatever the credit score is. If you want to get it raised a little bit, 20, 30, 40 points, we can tell you and put you on the plan. But the easiest way, Brock, to get your credit score up is what? Make your payments on time. There's nothing we can do if you're habitually late. And you can't get things erased. Over time, right, Harvey? Over time is the best way to go ahead, and you'll see your credit score increase, but you have to make your payments on time.
All right, we are coming up against our second break here this morning. A lot going on in southeastern Michigan. There's no doubt about that. Keep it here on the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We'll take all your calls, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. All righty, welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Only in our 25th year here. Lucky that we're 97.1 lets us do this thing here and help you buy a house, refinance your house. If you are buried in a little bit of debt, but you've got equity in your house, we would love to help you at Capital Mortgage Funding. Give us a call, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Again, deal with real professionals. There's no time limit. We'll answer all your questions.
All you have to do is make the call. Make the call. Listen, don't be embarrassed. We'll figure it out for you. Sometimes we can see things that you can't see, and we'll help you out. We want to set you up for success. It's been a big mantra of ours forever and ever and ever. Mm-hmm. And we're blessed and lucky enough to have a database of clients and personal referrals and friends out there that we've taken care of their whole family and their whole neighborhood. So we're pretty blessed with that, Brock, and I know you feel the same way.
Brock, before we get into that, one of your great listings you got out there, let's talk about the value proposition. It's very important nowadays, what you bring to the table. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, just like a home, a proper business all relies on a proper foundation, So the basis of my business is helping others. If I can help somebody, that's a win, right? And there's a lot of different ways I can help people, and like we obviously spoke about some of them, but it just really depends on what you need. You can talk to one guy, maybe they only do one thing. For example, I not only do residential, I do commercial, we do investment properties, out-of-state investors, the fix and flip opportunities. You name it. We're doing off-market properties. It's all over. Another big thing, that people don't really take into consideration is short sales. Let's say you owe $500K on a house and, the house is only worth $400,000 and you're not doing too well financially. What do you do? Well, if you have a good short sale specialist, you're really able to make something happen. So there's just so many ways that you can help people, to help others. And, people need food, they need a place to live, and they need love, right? So if we can provide at least one of those things, we're doing real well.
I need some more love. I need some more love.
Abe. We can't. That's a different show.
Okay.
All right. That's a different show. All right. Call Dr. Laura for that one. Anyways, so tell me about the short sale. Do you see a lot of short sales out there? Because I'm telling you, back in 2007, 8, 9, it was crazy. But what about now?
They're kind of far and few now. They're out there. It's tough. They get eaten up pretty quick. So if you have somebody who knows how to work them, some agents, they don't even want to work with another agent who's never done a short sale. I remember my first short sale. They're, oh, you don't know what you're doing. We're going to have to hold your hand, this and that. Go talk to your broker, blah, blah, blah. And realistically, it's actually a little bit easier than that on the buy side. It really takes more patience than anything.
Yeah.
But, it's
so
a great way to get into a home.
Becky always brings us up the investors, the out-of-state investors. Brock mentioned that we have a lot of out-of-state investors coming into our area because it's so affordable. All right. I would rather see people in our area get those homes than the out-of-state investor. What are we doing here in our area? Well, we have down payment assistance programs, Harvey. We have the Michigan State Housing Development Authority loan,
right? We got National Faith,
and we've got all these things that are low down payments because I want our people to get in those houses before out-of-state investors snap them up, and they are. Look, the reality is this: we want to give the proper advice. Everybody out there, if you don't buy that house, somebody else is going to buy the house.
Sure. Yeah, especially with all the great programs that are out there right now. There's zero down programs, there's government grants, there's mortgage-backed grants. There's just so many ways to spin it. You can get somebody into a house for maybe $3,000 or $4,000. I talk to certain people; they're spending $3,000 or $4,000 just getting into a rental. And that's a higher monthly payment,
Yeah,
and
rent's gone through the roof. And the thing is, the landlords now are taking maybe 1 to 2 months up front. So if you're talking about, like you said, $2,000 a month rent, they want 2 months up front, $4,000, maybe an extra security deposit. You're already $6,000 out of pocket. No doubt about it. I have a gentleman closing on the best house in Redford Township I've ever seen. He should be closing in about another 2 weeks. Tom, if you're listening, thank you. There are great homes out there for a lot of families. And yeah, I was working with some guy, and I'm not sure if they're still out there looking or whatever, but it sounded like the first house they stumbled upon was not a great house. So again, dealing with better professionals, people that really care about you, that warm, fuzzy feeling is a good way to go. Hey, we do have open lines all morning long here, 8:34, and we'll take your calls at 248-539-9797. Again, sports will follow us here at 9 o'clock. Mark Ryan and Pat Caputo. Typically, home prices we have been going up and up and up. So the short sale thing sort of threw me back, but there might be still some folks out there that maybe they took a second mortgage out also for a little bit too much. There's reasons why some families might be a little bit underwater in their property. And again, if you're struggling out there and struggling, give us a phone call. Let us set you up with Brock House and all the great agents that we work with. There's no commitment. You just can find out where you stand, what the neighborhood's selling for. And again, it's always about getting the good information so you can make better decisions.
Yeah, I always encourage these home buyers, a conversation, it doesn't hurt. You're not signing a contract for a conversation. Call somebody, collect data, talk to a few people if you need to, but you just try to figure out what's going on. It can be a very intimidating process initially. That's why it's very important to educate yourself and really find somebody that you can trust. I mean, that's a big aspect as well. I mean, for a lot of these people, this may be the largest transaction in their lives, right? And to have somebody that you can truly trust that goes to bat for you, it's all about trying to help somebody. Right?
Yeah, so Brock, you and I grew up
keeping yourself safe.
We grew up on the Woodward corridor, okay? Berkeley, 11 in Greenfield, 11 in Coolidge area, 12 in Coolidge. Let's talk about the Woodward corridor. The house that you and I grew up in.
Oh my goodness.
It's not, if we should have bought the entire block, right?
The whole city you could have bought.
We should have bought the entire block because those areas, from Ferndale all the way up through Bloomfield Hills and the Woodward corridor on both sides, east and west of Woodward, going into Hazel Park, going into Madison Heights, going into Clawson. All right, we know about Ferndale, Royal Oak, Pleasant Ridge. We know about all those places, okay? But you're talking about if you and I just took the time at that point in time, and this goes to the why wait, because values over time, real estate increases. It's one of the best investments you could ever make. Brock, if you could have bought the entire block of Harvard in Berkeley when you grew up, you wouldn't even be sitting here anymore, would you?
Oh, but even my childhood home, it was just, I think it was a 1,200 square foot bungalow or something of that nature, and it's worth over $300K now.
Yeah, that's good.
Holy smokes. Super inflated in Berkeley. But, Berkeley it's like heaven. I mean, it's absolutely perfect in Berkeley. If you just walk down a Berkeley street, you get a vibe.
The neighbors, and the school system's fantastic. And that's one of the things, no matter where you look, you check in the schools for the kids, right? You have to do that. It's pretty solid there. And we're lucky in southeastern Michigan that we have a lot of great school districts. And all around the state, our education system here is one of the best in the country. So, that plays into it when people are out looking for houses. So no matter where you're looking, you're going to check the school system for the kids. And you're going to look back in time. If you do the look back and say, God, I can't believe this house sold for this back 10 years ago. Well, it's true. If you hang on to real estate over time, it's the best investment. Why do I say that? Because when you pay rent, you're making somebody else wealthy, right? You're making somebody else wealthy instead of building that net worth for yourself. And the old adage is, well, Harvey, Brock, I can always make the payment, but I just can't save for the down payment. Well, there are a lot of ways that we can help with down payment assistance.
Oh, big time.
We all the minimum down programs too, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, by the time you're done getting concessions, or you can potentially roll part of your closing costs into a loan. I just got this young man and his family into a home over in Sterling Heights. I think it was around $17,000 he brought to the table, $400K home. We were able to get that closing cost knocked down. We were with a certain lender prior, and he's like, "Oh, you need about $32,000 to get to the table." And then you get somebody with a good lender, and you get somebody with a good realtor, and we're like, "Okay, how can we do this?" All right, typically it's going to be about $80 a month that you're paying for roughly $10,000, right? So it's like, hey, do you want to bring $15,000 to the table, or would you rather, pay an extra $120 a month? What do you think is fair? And usually they'll think about, okay, well, it's going to take about, 8 years, 9 years before they've even made that money back. So, and money's going to be worth probably a lot less, in 10 years anyways. $120. I mean, it's.
I'm glad you threw that up there. What does $10,000 mean to somebody when you're making an offer on a house? And again, if you're let's just use these numbers. If you're a 160 buyer and the 180 house is a lot nicer, $20,000 difference, but you don't have to do anything. That's why that professional who can really help you and that lender, you got to be able to call someone at 7, 8, 10 o'clock at night to say, hey, what is the difference here? Can I break this all down? And again, the principal and interest at 6.5 is $63.30 per 10,000, but there might be some MIP or PMI added to the loan. So I like that number of 80. All right, folks, get off the fence. Lowest mortgage rates in 5 months. Is it true? It is true. So if you're interested in finding out how you can save money, be sure to call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. You can get in touch with me over there or Harry and our whole fine staff. Again, there's no obligation. There's nothing out of your pocket to talk to real professionals that can break some things down for you. But not only are the rates a little bit lower, maybe another window here because a little clouds. I mean, I'm looking at the weather next week, a little bit of rain still. This is a slower spring getting started here. I'll trade a crappy April for a good May, I'll tell you that. But maybe that open window of some houses on the market that did not sell over the wintertime, Brock, and those are opportunities for your buyers.
Oh, big time. Yeah. When you see a house that's been sitting on the market, I don't know, even 60 days,
Yeah,
you have negotiating power. Once you start getting into 90 days, over 100 days, I mean, you go in there. First off, there's usually a reason it's been sitting on the market. So sometimes buyers get super excited. Oh, I want to see it. The pictures look great. We get there. I mean, you're totally catfished. And, but it always pays to go and look, and you never know. I mean, I've had buyers that are, I don't know, they get into a house and they absolutely love it. And I'm sitting there scratching my head. I'm like, well, but if that's what they truly like,
They might have a vision for it.
and they have a
it might hit
vision,
'em.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, and then to have an agent too that'll see that vision, that'll really help you with that. A lot of agents, they see you trying to go one way, they might, oh no, we're walking away, or hey, I showed you 5 houses, pick one, like a TV show or something.
Yeah.
I always tell my people, I say, hey, if we have to go see 100 houses, whatever it takes, this is a big decision
And
for you.
You might have to see a lot of houses in this
There's
market.
There's been times. I'd say on average, probably in about 70 homes a week. So I really get to see it all, and I don't just work in the Tri-County market. I mean, I'm all over. I think I got top 30% of realtors in Genesee County. I said, oh my gosh, I said, last year my lender told me this, and I said, hey, what, I'm like, what? Really? I had no idea, I was like, geez. So, but it's interesting because they talk about market specialists. I mean, if you get somebody that's from the city who's had to deal with a real cutthroat market, they're going to be really good when they start getting in these outskirts and they're really able to thrive, But from there, I mean, you still have to know the market, I mean, I drive past houses in Genesee County and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been in this one, I've been in that one, I've been in this one.
But you know the property, and that's the key factor. You know the history of the property. You've been through it. You know before you take that next potential buyer in there, what's going on in that house. Yeah. And I think people do. Have to have an understanding of the person they're working with, has to be and have that experience.
All right, volatility in the marketplace, no doubt about that. We used to talk about inventory, interest rates. How about this? Tariffs and stock market. Well, that's not the only game in town. Economic data is still very important. The jobs information came out this week, data, and that also plays a part in it. All right, keep it here, 248-539-9797. If you want to buy or sell a house, give us a call. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, 846. If you're just joining us, we have open lines, and we're going to get to a call right away here, 248-539-9797. The Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Harvey Freed, Harry Glanz. Brock House joins us from Keller Williams Metro all
Thanks
over
for having
Southeast Michigan. You've been great. Don't worry about it. Hey, Scott, you're calling in from Mount Clemens. Thanks for calling in. What's your question, sir?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. A little bit about myself. Been on the job for about 4 months now. Take-home income's about $400 to $4,500 a month. I could probably squeeze between 5%, maybe a little bit more, as a down. I'm single, currently live in an apartment at about $900 a month, and I work in Wixom. I'm a heavy truck mechanic, so I'm away from the home a lot. So I wouldn't mind being open to something with some potential, but I don't want something that I need to babysit every single day, meaning repairs and yada, yada, yada.
Oh, yeah.
Debt-wise, I do have a really, really old student loan debt. I just purchased a camper a couple months back. So my solid debt right now, each month is about $1,000, maybe $1,500 a month. I was just wondering, what is your take?
Yeah, the numbers are great. First of all, you said take home about $4,500, so I've got your income somewhere around
$7,000.
Yeah, $6, $7
6,
grand,
7 grand a
depending
month.
upon if you've got like some money coming out.
Before child support and everything else like that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
we're
take
talking
that out of there,
probably
too.
In the eight range, eight to nine.
Scott, one of our favorite calls is you. Not because you're just calling, because it's exactly who we like to help. Hardworking people, W-2'd income, but really easy. It sounds like you got your credit behind you. You're responsible. You're just sick of throwing away the rent.
So here's a question I have. You live pretty far away from your job. Do you want to move closer to Wixom?
Yeah, so, currently I'm in Grand Rapids. I'm working in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
But, I'll be moving, transitioning to Wixom pretty soon, hopefully.
So where do you want to live in respect to your job? Is that important that you live closer to your job, or do you figure you could drive there anyways?
Well, I was living in Chesterfield, driving to Brighton every day. So
Yeah,
I'd like to keep my commute between
kind of
like
insane.
a half to an hour.
Okay, you got it. All right, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Brock can
amazing.
hook you up. I mean, he knows the area pretty well. Go
Brock's
ahead.
willing to drive you a lot of different homes. Tell us, Brock.
We go all over Michigan, really get you wherever you need to be. Yeah, a huge factor that we have to take into consideration is your drive time. Let's say you're driving an hour a day. I mean, what are we talking? $20 a day in gas. That's $400 a month just in gas. Plus, you got to spend 10 hours a week just driving, plus wear and tear on your car. So it may actually be in your best interest to spend an extra, take that $400 or $500, reallocate it toward a mortgage potentially, and then you're also actually saving 10 hours a week of your life that you get back.
Bro, that's why I brought you on the show. That was really smart. Hey, and Scott, think about that. $400, we talk about it all the time because some families buy these, want condominiums. Well, that's an association fee of $400, about $60,000, $70,000 worth of buying power, especially as the rates come down. So I love that idea that we factor in everything for you, Scott. Scott, you shared your number with Paul, our producer, right?
He's got it.
I didn't share it with him, but I think he wrote it down.
He gave me a thumbs up. We got you. Scott, we're going to get you all pre-approved and ready to go. There's no obligation, and we'll hook you up and get you out on the road here looking at different opportunities. And I really, really appreciate the call. We look forward to helping you.
Yeah, it's going to be a simple math equation for you. We'll do some things. We'll do the math, and then you're going to make the decision. So it's really going to be up to you, and we'll put you into some pretty easy programs for you that you can handle and get you closer to work.
Brock, I told you we were going to put some miles on your car after this show. Don't worry. You'll be driving around some buyers out there.
It's all about helping others. Don't worry, Scott. We got your back on this one.
Thank you.
There you
Appreciate
go.
it.
Again, still open lines here, 248-539-9797. You have a question, maybe considering selling your house. You had some offers out there. There's a lot of moving parts in transaction. Actually, this week I had a potential buyer give me a phone call, and she got a land contract offer. So we still went over those details again. And the situation might be where that family particularly doesn't qualify for a mortgage, but they have enough money down. So everything has to be looked at, and you have to have education on that. Again, Harry, as you know, I've already done land contracts for myself and several clients. Well, what we do, if you have a land contract out there, be sure to give us a call. at the office, 1-800-LOW-RATE. We want to prepare you so that you're able to get a mortgage to pay off your land contract. And there are 2 or 3 steps that you need to do. And number one here, one of them is documenting your house payment. Don't pay your land contract because he lives down the block and you put a cash envelope or you drop it off. You do have to document that: money orders, checks, bank statements that we can show the money coming out of your account for 12 months will get you set up to pay off that land contract. Harry, so important that a land contract holder has an exit strategy.
Well, they have to have an exit strategy, Harvey, and the bottom line is they own the house, okay? But the deed doesn't go in the new owner's name. They keep that house in their name, the seller, until that land contract has been paid off. But we have to document the payments. We have to show a track record that you've been able to make that payment consistently and on time.
You know what the interesting part about that is I probably have, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 people a week, right, that reach out to me about land contract opportunities. And I always steer them toward a loan, you know. A lot of these, unfortunately, land contract opportunities are borderline predatory lending, you know. So it's very important that you even call a guy like Harvey and say, hey, listen, this is what I'm thinking. Is this safe? Is this something that makes sense for me? Because if you get an interest-only land contract and then they amortize at 30 years, well, regardless of the interest-only, I mean, those first 3 years are only interest.
They're done.
It doesn't go anywhere. And now you have to come up with a whole nother down payment to try to get the thing into a loan after the fact. Otherwise, you can't balloon out and you lose all your money. So it can be, you know, the golden era of, hey, I know these older people next door. They own the house. You know, I'm a young gun. They want to help me out and give me a land contract. Those deals are out there, but they are far and few. And you just got to be so careful going into a land contract opportunity. You really got to kind of know what you're doing.
That's why you got to read it. You have to read it. You have to show it to somebody that really knows it and has been experienced in that. And we'll take that opportunity to go over it and review it. Now, listen, we're not attorneys. We don't play them on the radio. However, we know a lot of great real estate attorneys. So you don't want to get caught. And remember, the devil's in the details. You got to be able to read those contracts and be able to disseminate, what do we say, Harvey? Disseminate accurate versus inaccurate information.
Here, we're talking about buyers. Brock, also, we're talking about the buyer's side on the land contract. Hey, the sellers are very important that contract's written properly.
Sure.
And I even mentioned to the lady, she said, well, they're only going to do a year, 12-month land contract. I go, well, what if they can't pay you off in 12 months? Why don't we put terms in the contract that says the second year interest rate would be different? Now, there's a motivation for that person to go ahead and pay off the seller on the land contract, whatever the outstanding balance is.
Sure. Yeah. You know, it always helps to have verbiage in there that states that, you know, they could potentially take the land contract farther and maybe even dictate those terms right up front. But, you know, I think the biggest issue is, you know, if you have over a 500 credit score, you should be calling lenders and figuring out there's always a co-signer. They can always run your credit, figure out what's or do a soft pull. So it's no risk to you, and figure out what's going on with your credit and how to try to help it. You know, I think a lot of people are just scared of the lending process, but it's really, they just don't know. So like, yeah, I definitely encourage anybody, if you have over a 500 credit score, try to get in touch with some lenders. You know, you'd be very surprised what they can do for you.
Well, Brock, you're very impressive because you're looking for ways to make deals, not break deals. All right.
Sure.
You're looking to turn over every stone to make sure that somebody is set up for success. Okay.
Big time.
And we can't be afraid to make that call. Listen, I still have a great staff, a great team of people that I consult with every day. Doctors, lawyers, financial planners. Okay. Everybody that I need answers to certain things, whether it's medical, whether it's accounting, whether it's legal. I make calls every day to make sure that my clients are taken care of in whatever they need. Yeah, sure, we do a lot of transactions, but when you need legal representation in real estate, there are certain people that we can call for you. When you need your credit scores, okay, taken care of, we can do the homework and we can make sure that you're in the right place. So to set somebody up for success like you do and to turn over every stone to make sure that you're giving that accurate information, because there's a lot of bad information. There's a lot of scammers out there, Harvey, and I hate to spend the last 2 minutes of the show. If you get a crazy email, a crazy text, crazy stuff coming in the mail, pick up the phone, give us a call. We will make sure that these are legitimate documents people are sending you or information that they're talking about real estate and mortgage transactions. You got to do it, because if you start sending your Social Security number via text, there's going to be problems. I guarantee it.
Brock, sneak in that listing real quick. Again, there's an opportunity out there. You got a pretty cool, it's like a horse farm or
Sure.
something?
Yeah. So it's actually Ted Lindsay's old property.
All right.
He at one point in time had 90 thoroughbreds on the property. It was 260 acres. They split it up, parceled it out, you know, and so this one is one of the original stables. from the horse farm.
And where's it located?
Metamora.
Yeah.
Which was a huge horse community up there. If you
Still,
guys
yeah,
don't know.
still jamming. Yeah, I love it up there.
But it's just a great opportunity.
All right. If you've got some horses, so you're still a horse farm.
You could build a house on it if you want. I mean, you could do whatever you want. 6 acres. They still have the Ted Lindsay's original horse farm. They used to party in the farm, the wings. They all used to go up there. So.
There you go. Brock House, Keller Williams. Brock, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me so much. I really appreciate you guys.
All right. If you need a great real estate agent, Brock House is one of them. Give us a call. Capital Mortgage Funding throughout the week. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We'll get you set up with all the top professionals. That inventory, it's out there. If you're looking for a great home, now could be the time. All right. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We got sports nonstop on deck. Pat Caputo.